So, today, since we're talking all things Donald J. Trump, because that was a popularly requested thing, I've put together a short compilation to answer one of the questions that was sent in, and I will read it verbatim for you. Let's see. Let me find it here. You guys sent in a lot of good ones, so I do definitely appreciate it. Here we go. So the question is, if Sanders, Bernie, had rightfully secured the Democratic candidacy in 2016, do I think he would have beat Trump? I see multiple possible outcomes for this. The thing with Sanders is his support in the Rust Belt is kind of hard to measure, but the effect that he could have had in places like Pennsylvania, especially, Ohio, hell, even Florida, even in the Sunshine Belt, it's very possible that he could have. And so to explore that, I put together 3 quick little info boxes, Wikipedia-style info boxes, to demonstrate what I think are the 3 most likely outcomes. So we will go ahead and we'll start with what I'm calling a landslide, which what I did for this was I went ahead and I looked at every single state that it said Sanders, or in this case Clinton, could have possibly won, and I said, all right, let's go down the list, let's add all of them. Now, I did take into account the faithless electors. I did get rid of the Texas faithless electors, and I completely forgot to realign the electoral vote count for Texas, but, you know, small mistakes. I only did this in about an hour's time. So you can read through this. I'll hover it here for a moment and just kind of keep talking over it. No matter how you edit this election, I don't think there's a reasonable way that Trump would have secured the popular vote. It wasn't going to happen. One fun thing about doing the 2016 election is you do end up with some really weird electoral vote counts because of the faithless electors. But no matter what you do, no matter, how you change it up, you're not realistically going to see anything short of at least the popular vote going to the Democrats in this election. I think regardless of which Democrat you pick, Trump was not going to secure that. So we'll go ahead and transition to the next one. Because we've had about 2 minutes to look at this one, so we'll talk over the next one now. So this is the more tempered results. So this just flips, I believe, 3 states, 3 or 4, actually, at 5, something like that. So completely accidentally tied the state count with 25. But again, popular vote's going to go to the Democrats no matter what you do here. Trump just didn't have the energy necessary. Do I think he would have, done worse against Sanders? I do. I genuinely don't think that Clinton was in any way the right choice. Hillary Clinton is a political oddity because of her connections to Bill Clinton and the scandals that come with that. She kind of killed her own career by marrying that man, not to blame her directly. The other thing is she was not a candidate fit to run in 2016. It's a very common trope in alternate election boxes that are more favorable towards the Democrats to have the results of the 2008 primary changed up and have Clinton win in 2008 and 2012. That way you can save Barack Obama for the 2016 and 2020 elections. Now, of course, this is a lot of wish casting is what it is, but at the end of the day, I don't see any way that Sanders doesn't outperform Clinton. But with that being said, just in the name of fairness, I did make one final election box, so let's go ahead and cut to that. Okay. And really the only thing that I changed between these 3, I made Sanders lose 3 states compared to what I called the balanced realistic one. Cleaned up the faithless electors again, did some recoloring, again, fixed the electoral vote count. But you can see there, the popular vote, no matter what happens, you could have ran basically any Democrat. I mean, you could have ran Joe Lieberman, and he probably would have won the popular vote against Trump. He just, with everything that's, how scandalous the 2016 campaign is, there's no logical way that he steps away securing the popular vote. Electoral vote, though, as everyone knows, very possible. Very, very possible. So again, the only thing that I really changed up for Sanders between the 3 of these, outside of the election map, obviously, and how the popular vote totals and all of that, was just who he picked as his vice president. I spoke with some people of a Wikiboxing group chat I'm in. We picked out that, hey, who was his likely, who was his unlikely. But we all kind of agreed, granted, we are largely biased. Sanders probably would have done better than Clinton. Anyone would have done better than Clinton. She was the wrong candidate at the wrong time, and I respect that she ran. I respect that she tried, but yeah, no, she was not meant to be one of those who do caucus. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and transition away from this to another one of the questions. But if anyone wants to see these info boxes, I will upload them elsewhere, and, just shoot me a message and I will send you the link to that happily. So let's get on to the next one. Howdy, everyone. I'm glad that we could get into the section that I know all of you love, which is seeing my beautiful face again and again. Got a little music going today, and I do hope you enjoyed those info boxes. If you're ever looking for more of those, my Twitter account's easy enough to find. Just look for that stupid Mr. Beast MatPat election. You'll find my account, or if you guys want it, I can link it in the description one of these days. All up to you. So a lot of good questions came in today. I've got a list that I wrote down here. I'm going to try and group similar questions together. So today is a politics day. Tomorrow I'll do just a history day, because there were a few history questions, one of which I'm pretty sure was someone fucking with me, but you know what, it's whatever. So let's get to a good start here. So the first question that came in was, is Donnie J trolling us? And the elaboration on it basically goes, is he just trying to screw us over until he's inevitably impeached? I don't know. I don't know what goes through the mind of someone like him. The thing that makes him such an interesting person in U.S. politics is he's never been static within U.S. politics. He's either been a Republican, a Democrat, or a registered independent. Most famously, he was part of the Reform Party for a little while, which, interestingly, he wanted Oprah Winfrey to run for president alongside him in 2000. He didn't end up running. Pat Buchanan overtook the Reform Party, and it became a neo-Nazi shithole. I wish that was me being like classic lib slop hyperbolizing, but that is actually what happened to it. Ross Perot couldn't get out of his own way, and his party crumbled for it. Poor Pat choked. But I digress. So I don't know. I genuinely do think that a lot of what he's pushing for is his actual genuine opinion. And if he's going about it the right way, I can't say. I don't think he is. I genuinely don't think that people are willing to tell him just how harmful some of these policies are. And at the same time, I'm not sure how he is mentally holding up these days. You hear a lot of jokes about Stephen Miller being kind of the guy behind the scenes nowadays. And it wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me that someone like Miller would be using Trump to his advantage. And it's a sad thing, though, because, I respect a lot of Republican politicians pre-Trump era. I think there were some guys out there who had some really great ideas. Harold Stassen, Thomas Dewey. Hell, even Nixon had some solid ideas before he went into the whole Watergate thing, but I digress. It's one of those things where even something like immigration policy has become so hyper-partisan. Back in 1980, you can watch the debate between George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan, and both of them advocated for common sense immigration reform. They didn't say, get rid of them all. They said, if they want to work here, they pay taxes here. Great. They want to work. We need labor. Let them work. And we've kind of seen that with Trump refusing to carry out immigration raids within agriculture areas for a while, which a lot of our agricultural labor is from immigration. And the thing is, if Americans aren't going to take these jobs, I don't see the harm in letting someone fleeing worse conditions in a shittier country from taking that job. If they think America is really the land of opportunity that it's advertised to be, and they think it's better than staying wherever they are, and they're willing to cross a river or be transported by a coyote into this country for that purpose, my respect goes out to them. That's bravery that most people don't have. So again, though, looping back to the original question, I'm not really sure. I wish I was, but I'm not. I think some of this is probably definitely him fucking with people. But to be fair, a lot of politics is just fucking with people. Huey Long, way back in the day, not that I have any respect for the man, he famously had a filibuster, right? I believe at the time it was one of the longest filibusters. And the thing about it is, for some of it, he was talking genuine policy. He was critiquing FDR. He was critiquing the New Deal. But then he was also just sharing family stories and gumbo recipes. So it's one of those things where politics has this reputation of being this incredibly serious thing, but it's not. It's a giant joke wrapped up in a kind of sheet of being serious, but it's a pretty flimsy sheet. We already did Sanders. There was one question that kind of loops back into Trump, and that was the No Kings protest, and it said, if I had been able to go and I had a sign, what would it say? I don't know. Sometimes I like to be a little more snarky with what I say. When I attended a Vivek rally not long ago, I wore a Nixon pin, because I thought that would be funny, kind of critiquing that. The corruption that you see within the state of Ohio, think HB6 and the nuclear program. But as far as No Kings go, the thing about No Kings is, while a lot of it is challenging Trump, is the point of it, it's impossible to directly pin down one thing. It's again like the hands-off protest, where whatever issue you believe in is what you could present to it. And I think that's great. I really do. Whatever your heart believes, whatever you believe, go out and advocate for it. I saw a post today that was, people in free country protest about a king while having a free protest. It's the principle of it. It's not the fact that there actually is or is not this royalty or this attempt at royalty. It's the idea that there could be. And to the credit of the people organizing these protests, wrapping these things in kind of, this very 1776 language, it's almost like mimetic memory, You kind of think, American Revolution, you think opposing government tyranny. And, it's bad enough when Chase Oliver is agreeing with Democrats, because the thing is, libertarians, love them. But a lot of them are just Republicans who call themselves libertarians. But it's always interesting to see actual libertarians slowly shift one way or the other, because they don't really owe allegiance to either party, and that's what makes them so beautiful as a political force. But I'm getting off topic here. My own personal sign, it probably would have been one of the cheesy ones, just the no dictators and things, or I saw a few good ones that I liked. That, or it might just be, a history joke or a policy issue that I personally believe in. The thing is, if I had gone, it would have been right after I'd gotten off work. So I wouldn't really have had time to make the sign, but probably something pretty straightforward, or, trying to capture some type of nostalgia with that. So let's go ahead and keep this train rolling. We're moving. Is Donald a dictator, or is he trying to be one? Are his actions just kind of, let's see, what did they say here? Yeah, or is he just kind of being weird? The thing is, he's not a dictator. The American president is not a dictator. And I understand that's very ironic with the No Kings protest being so popular. The idea that, okay, why are you protesting a guy if he's not a dictator and claiming that he's a dictator? You can see habits of a dictator in someone who is not a dictator. It's not mutually exclusive, And it's interesting because Huey Long, again, going to bring him up. He was, for those who don't know, a senator from Louisiana in the 1930s. And the thing is, no party would ever really claim him. He was a Democrat. But the thing is, in terms of political extremists, the fascists didn't want him because he was too communistic. The communists didn't want him because he was too fascist. The Republicans didn't want him because he was too populist. And the Democrats also didn't want him because he was too populist. Or i.e. too Republican. The thing with that, though, is they called him the kingfish in Louisiana. He was the closest thing to an American dictator. Had he run against someone in a presidential election, there's a very good possibility America would have seen that kind of dictatorial ideology. There's a fantastic book, The Plot Against America, with a Charles Lindbergh presidency that kind of explores a pseudo-dictatorial U.S. government, though we do end up seeing FDR take office in that series, spoiler alerts. But again, the thing is, I don't really think he is a dictator. He might want to be one, but he doesn't have the characteristics even to be an enlightened despot, you know? He just, he's too old for it, he doesn't have the energy, and he doesn't have the legislative capability. You know, as much as some of his supporters and, of course, his cronies in Congress like to say it, you know, he doesn't have that much of a mandate to work with. He's at all times about 2 Senate seats away from either getting a legislation passed, getting something he wants done, or watching it blow up in his face. You know, right now, the big, beautiful bill, it's sitting in Senate still for consideration. And frankly, I don't see it passing. You know, the fiscal conservatives are taking a look at it and going, why are you trying to gut these programs? Why are you trying to put this burden on Americans? You know, why are we undoing so much progress here? And of course, the Democrats on principle are refusing to support stuff like this. He might want to be one, but he doesn't have the capability to be one. And I think that's what kind of separates the two. Even if we compare him to other presidents who were famously called dictators, you know, FDR, right? The thing was, FDR had the legislative ability to be a dictator. Now, did his court packing scheme fail? Yes, it did. Did the Agricultural Adjustment Act fail eventually? Well, at first, and then kind of was reshaped later down the line. Yes, but the thing is, he could push a lot through, you know, especially after he secured every single election for 4 years. That's, no other president can either legally do that or has the ability to have that same energy. You know, I joke about it a lot. Thomas Dewey was a great presidential candidate. His only flaw was that he ran against FDR. You're not going to defeat someone like that. But Trump, for as much as he's kind of ingrained himself within the popular idea of MAGA Republicans, the thing is, there's still a very large base of traditional figures within that party. And so long as you can't erode those people, you're never going to be able to secure a strong enough movement. I mean, his electoral vote count this past election, people, you know, oh, it was a mandate. He had a mandate. No, he had a 0.1, 0.2% difference. That's nothing. And frankly, it's the first time he's actually managed to secure the popular vote, and even just barely. So, again, he can fantasize about it all he wants. He can try it all he wants, but it won't be successful. You know, I don't know what 2026 is going to look like in the Senate. I don't know what it's going to look like anywhere else. But gut instinct tells me that his legislative demands will not be met. His desires will not be met. You know, and frankly, he wouldn't hang around that long even if he did somehow establish himself as a dictator, either by virtue of someone not agreeing with that plan or virtue of his old age finally catching up with him, because the presidency is the most stressful job in the world. I forget which magazine did it, but there was a magazine that they prepared 2 different front pages for the election news, right? This was in 2012, or 2008 it might have been. And what they did was they took 2 photos. They took a photo of Obama, it was 2012, yeah, and they took a photo of Mitt Romney. And they didn't change much about it, except they grayed their hair out. And you may ask, why is that? Because presidents do tend to go gray, or they tend to pass away not long after the presidencies. LBJ, for example, famously, he only lived until 1973, you know, and he was a 1-term president, which granted, he wouldn't have won a second term if he had ran, but I digress. Plus 1968, that's a really fun election. So I don't think he's a dictator. I think he does dictatorial things, but he won't succeed in those things. You know, or when he does, the backlash is usually so bad that he can't continue. Los Angeles is a great example of this. The protest out there, God bless them. You know, even as these people are getting fired on with tear gas, as they're getting attacked with rubber bullets, you know, provoked is the only way to go and say it by federal and state officials. They're still out there. They're still saying, we think this is what's right. We think you're in the wrong. We're going to stand up for what we support. And it's that dedication that prevents dictators from taking power. You know, because that was the thing. People like Mussolini is a great example. He started a popular movement. He had the momentum, and only because he was so incredibly popular could he carry that. But the thing is, here in America, you can't get that type of groundswell support anymore. Information is too free to access, and it's too easy to say, hey, wait a minute, pretty sure you're wrong there. Right now down in Texas, they're trying to pass an incredibly stupid bill to basically discredit the public education system down there. And it's been pointed out by several members of the Texas Senate. Why are we wasting our time on this? This bread and circuses type legislation, it doesn't work. It doesn't capture Americans like it used to. And I don't think that unless someone else who takes office either has that much popularity or that much of an electoral mandate, and not a popular vote mandate, an electoral mandate, that we'll ever see something like that again. It's been said about John F. Kennedy. He may have dreamed for all the world, but if he hadn't died that day in Houston, the chances of the Civil Rights Act being passed were slim to none. Honestly, there's very easily a world where someone could argue that he loses the 1964 election if he lived. It's only because it was such a system shock to America to see another president dead that we managed to get that through. The Democrats managed to pass that bill even as Southern Democrats revolted. George Wallace, the American Independent Party. So you've got to take these things in measure. No president, as hard as they try, no president can really do anything they want. They will encounter a roadblock, and that'll be that. So, yeah. Long, rambling answer to what should have been a quick yes-no question, but I enjoy talking about these things. I'll be sending this out here soon. I'll send it out above it, so feel free to keep asking me questions. I'll do some more tomorrow, kind of do like a semi-weekly thing with this. So thank you all for being here. Remember, compassion conquers, and I hope all the best for you out there, and stay safe, friends, okay?